welcome to Breakfast in Bed with Tiffany. I'm super excited to have you guys as my guests today, Rose and Saskia, and I'd love you to give a little introduction to our viewers, who you are and what you do.
Saskia, you want to start?
Okay. So I'm Saskia. I do mainly jewelry for my living. So I'm an entrepreneur, designer, and a couple of other things. Yeah,
You're a powerhouse, superwoman, I know.
Everybody wants to wear the Saskia Diez
Yes,
jewelry.
all of us.
Yeah. So that's it in
In a nutshell.
a nutshell.
So I'm Rose Langenbein. I think we all know each other, and some of the audience might also know me. So who am I? I'm actually known as all my
Welcome
gifting,
to
I would
Breakfast
say,
in
is
Bed with
my
Tiffany.
talent is in styling. So this is actually how people know me. I was working with my Teresa for 20 years. I was styling, directing the brands amongst the company, and left in 2020 and started actually my own business. I'm not an entrepreneur like Saskia, not yet. But I started with, what did I start? Yes, I started with modeling. This is also what actually we already mentioned at some point. I'm doing content creation, and I also do music direction. I had a very nice project last year with a hotel in Milan, and also, amongst other things, doing a lot of things.
Yes, like all of us.
Doing a lot of things. That's
Perfect.
You're busy all the time.
Yes.
I'm excited for our chat today, and we'll be covering topics like self-definition, self-confidence, liberation of roles, generational differences, work-life balance, social media, personal branding. Let's see how far we get.
Yes.
And what I would love to ask, like my guests at the start, is in what way, because my podcast is all about becoming the best version of yourself. In what way would you say that's true for your lives, and how do you, or in a nutshell, how do you try and become the best version of yourself?
Shall I?
Yeah. Go.
To be frank, I'm never thinking about becoming the best version of myself.
Perfect. Finish.
It's more, there is of course slightly like an undertone. There's a lot of experiences that you actually take throughout your life. And I turned 60 this year. That means I have a lot of years actually accumulated already, where I say, I would maybe become the best version of myself throughout my experiences, of course, definitely. But there's also, I don't know, there's still stuff where I think, you know what, guys, don't get stuck in too much, like
Perfectionism.
Yeah, perfectionism, because this is actually where I came from, and it brought me to neurotical things to do, like, just to mention, I was bulimic when I was in my 20s, and because you were striving to be perfect, to whatever. I still was not in the state like nowadays people are, where they can actually see everything over social media. But I had an issue, and of course, this is actually becoming the best version of myself, because I try to find out what was the reason behind. I did a lot of reflecting. I try to be very open and had conversations with people, and then anyhow you find out that anyhow at some point people have almost the same issues.
Yeah, agreed.
I totally agree with becoming the best version of yourself has nothing, but not so much to do with self-optimization or how this is promoted. For me, it's more has something to do with being able to hear or feel. Maybe you can say my inner voice or gut feeling, and not the voices in my head. Like there's a different thing.
Yeah.
So to have the feeling of being connected with somehow my roots or my base, and with a sort of inner balance or inner calm.
What we all want, yeah. And for me also this podcast is about becoming the best version of myself, and I've always been a little bit kamerascheu, a little bit scared of when it's video and not just photo, and I always get like stutter. So for me, this podcast is a learning curve, and in every episode now we've changed a few things up. And yesterday it was funny, Martin, our filmer, he sent me a little preview of my last episode, and I realized to do something really annoying, which is when people talk, I'm always like, yes, cool, amazing, great, and I'm just like, shut up, Tiffany, please. So if I don't say so much of like, oh yes, well that's because I'm trying to become a better version and not interrupt the whole time by cheering someone on. So yeah, just a little side note.
But it's really funny that you say that, because first of all I want to jump quickly on Saskia, what she said, that she realized it's all in her head. I think this is mainly like the how shall I say, the challenge in your life, to really find the balance between what is the, because I think what is in your head is more about what you experience, the fear, everything that you cannot grab, and then sometimes you really struggle and you don't know to what you should listen. Is it the belly, is it the gut, or is it the head, or whatever? And I totally agree. This is something what I learned throughout my life, that it's really about the gut feeling. Always listen. This is some recommendation that I can give to people. Listen to your belly, and if you feel it's not right, don't do it. It's not right.
Yeah.
Because this is where I always got proven wrong.
Yes, me too.
No?
Every time I kind of like silenced.
Yeah.
Or
you listen too much to people when they give you recommendations.
I silenced like my own kind of doubts with listening to the voices in my head or the voices outside. It didn't go well.
No, same. Even in small things, like you're in the car and you're like, oh, I should take that route, but then you're like, oh no, I'll go there. Then you're like, God damn it, and then you end up in traffic. It's like the small little things. Your intuition is really, the more you're in tune, the better.
Yeah. And some things you cannot avoid. Okay, we can talk. I think we could talk ages about that, because it's always like, when you also try to interfere, this is also something. It brings you totally out of your routine, and then it gets even worse, I feel.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to tell you about what you said, that you had this, like that you were trying to cheer people up, or like to empower them, encourage them. I was in a coaching like many years ago, and I think this is something I'm really keen on, because I think it's your blind spot. We call it a blind spot. So there's something you do that you don't know, but then somebody. So I had to do like some questions with some friends when I was in this coaching.
Yeah.
Because they said, okay, Rose, people have to tell you the blind spot, and it was 3 different people. And independently, I didn't talk, not together with them, but independently, personally, and they all told me the same.
What was it?
It was that I sometimes, when I'm insecure, what people might not think I am, but I am, and I don't feel comfortable in a room, I had this kind of habit. I was just leaving the room. They were sitting at dinner. I was leaving the room. People didn't know where I was. I was calling people. I was on the phone, to distract myself, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And then, as I said, I was in this coaching, and we have to find out my blind spot. And this was the blind spot, because people told me I'm doing this every time. And then I realized, and I said, yes, it's because I feel uncomfortable. But you are right. I could actually tell you I'm leaving the room.
Yeah.
Before people are sitting there in the middle of a conversation, and they don't know where I am.
Rose left the building. Well, I hope you don't leave the bed today.
So when I disappear, you know what it's
you're not feeling comfortable. Okay. Well, I guess it leads me to our first topic. Like, I think it's also confidence and how, like, with age, you kind of find yourself. And so I can say from my point of view, I definitely didn't grow up being the most confident girl. And I always say the 11 years of full-time modeling was a bit like a therapy for me, because you really, I mean, they say you can't, don't take it personally yourself, but it is always just like that. It's not like they know you. And so I wanted to know, what about you guys? Have you always been as confident as you are now, or what was your process, and what would you say are like ways that you overcome maybe not being comfortable in something? Ooh, I think this is our breakfast before we start into it.
Yes.
I have ordered you guys the breakfast you liked.
Thank you.
So I guess we can wait till they come in and share. But yes, first thing would be confidence.
You want to start?
I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder like who is born confident, first of all. But I think I had my kind of strategy or way to deal with it was having kind of a inner world that I spent a lot of time in. Like kind of, this friend, that friend no one sees, how's that called again?
Imaginary friend?
Imaginary friend.
Or the second, or
Kind
your
of like
alter ego.
So
Hi.
Hi.
Perfect. That's pretty. Do you guys eat in bed
Yes.
at home? Yeah?
never.
Never?
I eat in
Never.
bed. I eat in bed.
Never.
I love it.
But because, like you say, you don't want your children to also start eating in bed? Or...
No, they do.
They do? Okay.
They
Not
do.
me, but they do.
They sometimes. I mean, they're not small anymore.
Yeah.
So they might like cook their pasta, go to bed, eat it there. But no, never.
But what, like, just...
I mean, I would eat on the couch. I do that from time to time. Usually, I eat at the table. But it's not that I need the formal setting, but bed is for me a different thing. I don't
Okay.
know.
Yeah, no,
especially actually since I'm in the apartment that I'm in now, because there I have a dedicated sleeping room, which I didn't. I mean, no one always has that.
Yeah.
I guess at some point you're mixing things together, and then your couch is your bed and whatever.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
And Saskia has a very special bed.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Wait, the third?
There's a third one, yes.
Oh, perfect.
Cappuccino.
Congee, I think.
Ah ja.
Hast du, oder?
Ja,
Congee was-
ich habe noch so einen kleinen Wake-up.
I was going to say
So
congee
ein-
with
Ach, den
soy
hab ich
milk.
auch
What?
noch.
Perfect.
Some tea. Yeah, so I think kind of like having my own, telling me my own stories or my own. I was very much living in my inner world. And
Sehr heiß.
Perfect.
Dankeschön.
Oh, das ist ja toll, Saskia.
Yeah.
Look at her. She knew.
I knew that. And kind of like if you have like you're living in your inner world and you're telling yourself your I don't know, the reasons for something, you have there's its own logic. Yeah.
So you would say that
I
made you confident or made you less confident?
No, it didn't make me less confident. It just took me out of. I was pretty much a loner. Yeah.
Okay.
So you're not like that. It's a way. Maybe it was maybe a way of not being confronted with so much interaction with the outside world.
Okay. Yeah. And are you still like that in your your world, or are you more?
I'm way more open now.
Oh.
But that's really something like a development, I would say, from the last, I don't know, 10 years.
10 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. We all have one now. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I think that's all.
Should I also prepare this one? Is for the tea inside, or should
I think we'll put it in here. That's fine. Oh, perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I think what we were talking about before, like this, being able to kind of like hear your or feel your gut feeling and be connected to yourself. That if that builds up later, that of course helps.
True. And you, what about you? Now I feel like you're the most confident. Also, like I love you because you're so loud, like me. I resonate to loud people.
I think this is, I mean, okay, this is just my personality, I would say, and my energy, but I don't think it has necessarily to do with confidence, because people can be loud and can be insecure at the same time, you know, that's why they are loud. It's of course not that way. And it's really funny you are asking me this, because if I remember properly, I didn't deal with insecurity or not being confident, but then at some point it started. You know what I mean? I think maybe in my mid-20s, you know, of course we were partying and good partying, I would say, you know, and then, you know, I think it was the first time when I really realized, you know, people are looking at me, people are staring at me. This is actually where I got the insecurity, you know, it's just like, why do they stare at me? Do I have spots in my face, you know? And I think because in this bubble, in this party bubble that I was, you know, you felt actually insecure. And then I feel I became more insecure in my 30s, 40s, you know, I moved here to Munich, and it was, of course, a new plaster. I came from Frankfurt area, Mannheim, you know, where people were different. And it's not even that I was insecure because of people, but because I got in an environment, you know, where people gave me a lot of feedback and criticism, and it was the time when I thought, okay, I have to change something. So I was listening to people, just to get back to the one that we said before. I was listening to people, and that made me insecure. So the people triggered me because I let them trigger me. You know, it was something from the past, because from my childhood, if we go back to my childhood, it would make sense that I was not confident because I didn't. So my mom was really. Sorry, Mom, but my mom was next level for me, you know.
Okay.
But as I said, this is also a process, you know. And now I know, but back in the days, I didn't even know. I didn't know where it came from. But then you met the people, you know, that you actually put around you, or that are around you, or surrounded by you, or you are surrounded by them, because you actually go back to your comfort zone. So which means people who were acting like my mom did, this was something I felt comfortable, although it was not right for me. But you know, and I think this is actually how you process that that issue.
Known environment.
That you will process that through your through your life. So now I'm at a point I could say, you know, I'm fine with my mom. We talked about everything, you know. I mean, I can really tell her everything, and she would look at me and she would say, Rose, I didn't feel it that way. And I said, yeah, but I felt it that way, you know. I was a child, blah, blah, blah. And I also remember I had a fight with her where I said, you know what, if I would ever have kids, I know I would be a better mother than you. So there was a lot of anger and emotions. But as I said, you know, my mom is now my best friend. I would say if there's really something troubling me, I would rather call my mother than some friend. Because also with friends, you know, I know we come later to the issue about friendship, you know, but it's also like a big topic, you know, to trust friends, you know, to develop with friends, to grow with friends, you know, rather than, you know, because the world is crazy right now. And I came from a different environment, how I grew up. You know, we grew up without social media. We grew up without, we had influence, through magazines. I mean, I was always in fashion, of course. You know, I had magazines. It's funny, I always admired, you know, all the models. You know, I was like collecting magazines only because of my favorite 90s models. One of them was Tatjana Padic, who unfortunately died. she was my biggest, like, oh my God. And maybe at some point, I also put myself a little bit in that role, but I was never thinking I could be a model. It was like, I'm ugly. I never felt myself pretty. Everyone was prettier than me. But of course, there was something about me. And I think it has to do that I was the eldest of 4 girls. And I always, I'm with another father. My sisters are not.
Yeah.
So, and I never came to know my father. I never met him properly, etc., etc. This is not a story. But just to tell you that, of course, out of this, there was also growing a lot of insecurity, which I wasn't aware. As I said, it came in my 30s, I guess, 40s, in the job, where there's a lot of criticism, especially in fashion. I always wanted to perform. I always thought I was not good enough. I allowed people to put me down.
Yeah.
So this is more or less the things that I had to struggle with. So I was also not the one who was confident in the first place.
No, for me as well. I mean, I think it was for me more. I hope it doesn't come again when I reach 40, because now I feel like I've much more like found my true self. Before I was much of a people pleaser. Like I like, if you like me, it must mean that I'm a good person.
Yes.
So I was so obsessed with like, doing everything right, making sure, I don't fit, or that I fit in. And now I'm more like, no, look, I know that I'm a good person, and if you don't like me, then that's fully fine.
Absolutely.
But that came with age, that confidence to allow myself to see it that way. Before I was more, I need to not Tanz aus der Reihe. I need to not like be different. Yeah.
Yes.
And now I'm like, I like being different. Like I'm probably not everyone's cup of tea, but what's that nice saying? Well, you're champagne. So, and I think that the roles now, like it's broken up a little bit, and I'd love to touch on that topic. Like you with your jewelry, like when you go on your website or you look, your models are all like it's not the typical like beautiful woman. Like you have so many different types, and that I think you also stand for breaking up these rules, making it not so stereotypical. And so I just really want to talk about how do you guys feel about the roles now? What are the generational differences also when you grew up?
I mean, like starting from, I don't know, or telling it from the end. Or, I would say, so when it comes to my choice of presenting my work, for example, to me, like this, what you call stereotype beauty is too boring, actually. Too boring or too flat, and not real. I find it way more interesting. People that have some realness or some character, some maybe also features that are not looked at as specifically beautiful, but where I think like there is a beauty, and often that beauty comes through that certain kind of vulnerability or uncertainty that this feature means for that person. So I often think that's richer. There's more layers. There's more to be seen. And I didn't grow up with 4 sisters. I grew up with 4 brothers. Being the only girl, and so I think this feeling of being different is also something that I know from the start.
But you embrace it, I feel.
Yeah, but I remember that when I was a kid, or when I started to be a teenager, that being a girl or being called a girl was something negative.
Okay.
Was was not positive. Was not a compliment.
Okay.
Which was also a reason why I cut my hair short. And this is, for example, something where I sometimes think, wow, we're now in 2024 and still being a woman cutting their hair short is a topic.
It's a topic, it's a statement.
That this is still a topic. Sometimes I think like, wow.
Yeah. No, it's really funny because I also know what she's talking about, because I remember, you remember, Saskia, when I cut my hair short in 2017. And, you know, there's some people, you know, who always would say, so if I'm asking, so most of the people, they would say, Rose, go back to short. It was so cool. It was not short as Saskia's. I mean, I think maybe once it was short as Saskia's, but I had more like a wilder kind of version. And I really felt good, you know, and I was so happy I did it. But I'm not sure whether I would go back to short, you know, but there's also these comments from people who would say, oh no, Rose, you cannot go short, you know. I mean, you're 60 now, you know, and it looks like, you know, the last... So this is what people have to do, or women have to do when they grow older, they cut their hair so that they look like lesbians. Oh, wow. It's just like, what the hell, you know, like what is... And this is, but as I said, I mean, this is also something just to, like maybe different topic, but what I had to also unlearn in throughout my life, you know, what I learned. And now in 2000 or from 2000 on, everything turns different according to diversity, etc., etc. You have to be careful what you say, you know, how you express, because everyone feels offended. I mean, I was never asked whether I was offended. Sorry, just to mention it. You know what I mean? So I mean, I think also the younger generation has a big privilege with people like us. You know, I mean, us, not even you included, because you are only in your 30s now, but you know what I mean, that we are so open enough and somehow try to change the world a little bit, you know, to change behaviors, to change also education structures, you know. It's not that I'm doing the same what my parents did, because I'm not agreeing to it. So
would you say though that, I mean, you had a few like a lot of leadership roles as well?
Yes.
Would you say that that's evolved, like how women, men, I mean, I guess it's a discussion that we still have, but do you think that it's become better, like more inclusive? Because I feel sometimes I do a lot of model bookings, and there there was a phase where it was like, okay, the weirder the better, you know, they need to have some kind of... and for that,
breaking a little bit, you know, like this kind of a beauty, you know, to break the rules a little bit, but I have the feeling it goes back to that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel there's like so many different currents or trends. So there's quite a big one that goes totally back to perfect. I mean, if you look at 13, 14-year-old girls, like with contouring and perfect whatever, and how...
I agree. I think
let's not talk about the aesthetics. I just wanted to say, you know, like because there we can also have another topic about aesthetics. But the thing is that I also say, fair enough, everyone has his own aesthetics, and also the kind, you know, and that's why we actually should not verurteilen, judge the aesthetics that is not on my path, you know. But on the other way, I say, you know what, why can we not get all a little bit together, you know, and somehow find a nice playground, you know, where we say, you know what, but this is fine, you know, it's not too much, blah, 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 etc., etc. So
I mean, I think we've come a long way already to what it used to be, that I feel like it's more accepting now. And but I think, of course, there's a long way to go in everything. But to come back to the point with leadership, do you think that like men, women, are they seen more equal nowadays, or would you say? Because I think in our creative space, I do believe that. But for corporate, I mean, I think I was in a company for 6 months. That's it.
I mean, I cannot tell you, it's just like, the thing is, I can only see it from my perspective, and I know how I am, Tiffany. I think it's very, very difficult, because maybe in a corporate, maybe not, but maybe yes. I feel there is more, according to diversity, etc., since this is a very, very big topic, I think people are really working on it, but of course, I think that they also need leadership, that it's not getting out of the way. And as I said, they can, I think that they are very privileged to have people like us. That's what I said before, because I really, because you said you wanted to be always, you just wanted to be a good person. I also know that kind of phase that I had, where I said I only want to be a good person, and then you have to be careful because you allow people to actually
push you over.
or to pull you over. It's like, and then like you get throughout of this, you get insecure. Unless only to just say, this is what I can say now. You know what? Who the hell are you? This is really what I say, who the hell are you, But I know there was a time where people could actually put me down, and I would think, oh my God, I must be a horrible person, I must be a horrible friend, I cannot fulfill your expectations. And it took me a long time to understand this, and to really say, because she was also talking about beauty, the beauty really comes with the age, and it comes with your heart, with your soul. And if there is beauty, and if there's happiness, and if there is openness, and if there's understanding, I think it forms, all the characters are in your heart. And this is what you spread, and this is where your beauty comes from.
But now in a time where like social media, I think, we all grew up without social media.
Even you, Tiffany.
Well, even me. And I think now, as I can't even imagine how difficult it must be, because comparing yourself, this constant like need to be perfect. I know it for myself. Like I don't share my like lonely moments where I might like just have a really bad day. Often I don't even know if it's so that I want it to be only the picture perfect moments. And I think, of course, it's being authentic, also saying you're having a bad day, which I'm learning to do more. But it's so much stress. Like, how do you think that it's different to how you guys grew up and now? Like, I think there's a lot more pressure on people. You have children. They grew up with social media. How does it change them, or what?
Yeah, like you're straight away in competition with the whole world.
Yeah.
The whole world you see in social media, which is not the whole world, just
which is a fictive world,
It's a surface. It's a surface that is very well curated by a lot of people, so especially the girls, they both had their times where they were like, okay, I'm going to delete Instagram.
Okay.
I only go through the web browser because it makes it more difficult and I don't spend as much time on it. And they both had their struggles from time to time, especially one of them where, we all know the algorithm kind of feeds you, and if you have a certain insecurity, it especially feeds you the stuff you don't want to see.
For sure. Like for me, I think, I use Instagram also for work, but I also tell my friends, like, please don't be upset if I don't see your stories. Firstly, it's a bit of a time thing. Like, I know I get sucked into reels then, so I don't spend that much time on social media. And also, like years ago, I also didn't do me any well comparing myself, because there's always someone that's
of
better,
that
prettier.
you think, you think he is better, Tiffany.
Yeah.
There's also something I hate about better and worse. That's why I always say different. Because when you say better, it's already a judgment. When I say different, it's just like, okay, there's something I don't know. So I think this is actually a very nice word to describe it,
Well,
without judging.
I kind of more or less just use it for work.
Me too. Like,
I mean, of course, like also, you know how that is. You also build
Your
an
environment
image of yourself.
Absolutely.
And I have a kind of inner circle that I maybe also interact like privately there, but mainly it's job. Mainly it's job, and I don't consume a lot. So it's, for me, it's a platform to spread my vision, but I don't have the time, actually. I don't have the time, and it doesn't make me happy.
I also actually don't have the time, but my pain topic, which I'm trying to get rid of, is that I will be that person that then gets in bed, they think they're like, okay, I'm in bed at 10:30, this like nearly never happens. And then I open my phone, and then I'll be like, oh, video number one, it'll be like animal videos and stuff, or like that, and it's like my love language to send reels, and I'll send you about 1,000 reels, because I apparently find everything funny. My algorithm is that good already, and then it's 2 a.m, and I'm like, God damn it, why did I let that happen again? And yeah, you'd think you'd learn, but I do this nearly every night. So so I do use it, but for bad, because I think I just need to start reading more. Because it's not the best.
I think we as people are very addictive. I think this is also
for sure.
something which is in our system, you know, and this is what you also always have to try to balance. This addiction that you have, you know, and everyone has it. You know, nobody can actually tell me he is not addictive, because we all are.
Yeah. It's so much time that gets wasted there, though, for like where I'm just like, oh my God.
No, for me, it's like when I'm running circles. You know, I want to start with something, but then I saw something else, and I'm jumping on this, you know, and then, no, I wanted to actually, and until I'm doing that, what I actually want to do, you know, maybe it's like 3 days later.
So good.
Yeah.
And then what would you recommend to people when you say social media? Like you say you only use it for work because you don't have the time, and you also don't want the consumption. For me, it's the same. I don't have the time, and I also don't want to fall into that pit of comparing myself. But it's so important. Like, what are your methods? Like, what would you give as an advice?
I mean, even just using it for work consumes a pretty big amount of time.
It doesn't mean that she's less time on Instagram than we are. No, of course. It is like that. It's the same for me.
Like preparing, you know, like preparing pictures or preparing videos, like that is time consuming.
Yes.
And
I find
my advice would be like, maybe from time to time think, what do you want out of it? What does it give you, and use it in that way.
Yeah, I also think though, like in a personal account, like yours is your name, mine is my winter production or the location agency, or when I've outsourced that. But I feel like the moment it's your personal one, I always think, okay, I could actually, maybe I should give, you know, the material to someone to cut the reels for me. But then I'm such a little like perfectionist, and I'm like, I probably would have done it differently.
I have to give too much directions.
Yeah, and then it does. I'm never able to get myself away from it. But we'll see. Maybe I can improve myself there.
Yeah, I think at some point I didn't answer the question about my social media activities and how I'm going to actually evolve it or not evolve it, or you know what, or somehow put it in a balance. I think for me, it's also like related to time, you know, or in which phase I am, I would say, to be frank, you know, because of course I know I should, but then I don't, you know, but I think there's also like, I know there's a time coming, you know, where it's absolutely fine. I remember when I was starting with Instagram, I was like putting like 5 pictures a day, you know, and now, you know, where am I, you know, like, okay, the third day, oh, maybe I should upload something. And this, what I have now on my Instagram stories with the podcast, it's like, it's actually unusual that I have so many, you know, like reposts, you know.
Yeah.
Although I like
thank you
it.
for reposting.
Yeah, no, because this is also something which I think people, I cannot repost everything, but this is also something which is in my, I want to, because it's also, I show the respect to the other person. So this is something what I have in my mind when I'm reposting stuff.
But it is I would say, it is a very handy tool to shape the image of what you want to say, like your vision of style that, or like of giving direction and also of changing and playing around, like trying out stuff.
And do you ever feel the need, like when there are new trends coming out? I'm someone that I'm just, clothes-wise, I don't really care if my bag is old season or my thing. I couldn't care.
No,
do you
couldn't
think
care
that's...
less?
We couldn't care less. I mean, I think that Saskia and I, although I'm more into fashion than Saskia is, but it's the same for me. But I also believe this comes also with age.
That's what I was about to say. I think it's
I
an age thing,
remember
right?
when I wanted to have like this Rolex and another Rolex, and I wanted to have a Birkin bag, and I was like, oh God, when I ever have money, I want to have whatever, like the Bottega, the shopping bag that I wanted, etc. And now it's like, who needs
cares?
that?
Yeah.
Who cares? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think like when thinking about
I would
myself
rather
and about
travel,
my-
babes. I would rather travel, or spend my time by the sea, or being on holidays, or spending time in whatever, in a nice environment, where I can relax, rather than, I mean, I'm still consuming, but rather than to overconsume. And I cannot afford it. That's another topic.
What I wanted to jump on. When I think back of my consumerism behavior, so I grew up, or like I moved out when I moved out very early. I moved out when I was 16, and so I never had money.
Yeah, exactly.
And my way of like I created my world of, it's so cool. It's so cool to not spend this on that. It's so cool to just be like secondhand and to stitch myself stuff and be inventive and be different. And because I don't know, I wasn't in a circle where I would have to define myself all the time, like in what would others think. So I think that gave me a lot of freedom in creating what I wanted.
But I think this was also my time, Saskia. When you were not even aware. So for instance, I was always into fashion. I was always dressing myself, even with 5. This is always when people tell me, Rose, I got you so, not where did you get your talent from, but I think it's a talent that you are born with. And I said, you know what, even with 5 years, I knew already what dress I want to wear. And I said, Mom, no, I'm not taking this, I'm taking this. But also what I wanted to say, in my teenager time, I was a hippie, like with hippie dresses and the little band with my long hair, totally sense it. And I know that back in the days I was already good with my taste, people were admiring, but it was not a topic.
No,
it was
it
not
was
people.
not a money topic.
No, it was
a
first of all,
topic,
it was not a money topic, but also not like today, where people are complimenting you. I mean, this is actually what I missed always. People say, oh my God, Rose, you look so beautiful today. This is not that I remember people were telling me, but the aftermath was a funny one, because my sister, like a couple of years ago, she told me a story where she was sitting in a cafe, and this guy who was sitting next to her is somebody I knew. And he was telling, I don't know whether it was his children or some other people, and he said, you know what, there was once this girl, her name was Rose. She had the best style in town. Nice. Everyone was trying to get on the same style, but of course nobody managed. And my sister realized he was talking about me, Nice. But for me, it was not. So I didn't even know about my talent. So that I had a talent in styling, unless my coach at My Teresa told me. But, you know what I mean?
But isn't it because I remember from myself that that there was kind of a awareness
Yeah,
off
yeah.
because people would look at you. I mean,
Of
I grew up
course.
on the countryside.
Same for
so
me.
like I was like the weird girl.
Weird girl from the countryside.
And kind of cultivating that and not.
Absolutely.
I remember also cultivating that I don't give a shit.
Same for me, you know, like I remember when I started to smoke. I was at the gymnasium and there was like this called was Raucherhof. Sorry guys. Raucherhof, you know, and it was like we sat there. So I started to roll my own cigarettes, you know, that was so cool. Without filter, by the way, you know,
yes.
it was just like
Great
that you
feeling.
learned, you had your tobacco and blah, blah, blah. And it was so cool, you know, and they were all like these cool guys, you know, with long hair, you know, like also smoking, you know, and you were like sitting there and you just thought, oh, maybe somebody's looking at me. Yeah, and anyhow, you were different already. I mean, I was different already, you know, and people saw that it was, so of course we all met together, you know, because I think that the same people, they will always meet. It doesn't matter where you are.
So I think social media, I agree. Sorry. I was so in the like, don't keep agreeing with everything. Shut up, Tiffany, to then not agree at all. But no, I agree. But
And it's allowed.
I think that social media is like a love-hate relationship. But I think there are so many good things about it. Like, for example, if you're building a brand, if you are building, which I think with AI coming up now, it is more and more important to actually build yourself a personal brand so that you aren't replaceable. What tips would you say? How do you use social media responsibly that you don't fall into all those traps and you actually are able to stay your true self? Like, what would you say is your take on it?
Dedicate a certain time, for example.
I need to do that.
So I have a certain time where I sit and I prepare, and then I get it out, and then I'm off.
And it's always the same time?
More or less. I'm not that strict anymore.
Yeah.
But it's always a certain time because I think like all of us, I'm also sensible to perfectionism. So
We all are.
So I like to have my tasks done. You know, certain things, and at the same time, I don't want to get lost. I know there's tons of other things. So yeah, I have a dedicated time.
And do you do like, just because for me, I want to try this out, do you do like an hour in the morning, an hour in the evening, or?
I do an hour in the morning, and then maybe lunchtime, evening, like briefly. Yeah.
Let me see if I can incorporate that.
I think I need also, we need Saskia as the role model because I'm a mess with this.
Yeah, me too.
I'm a mess. But it's also like what I thought, you know, I realized now, ever since I'm actually freelance, you know, for 4 years now, that I really need somebody, you know, who always
Some
like...
guidelines.
Yeah, like not even guidelines. I think that someone has to kick my ass. You know what I mean? Because I'm just like, you said, I also love to have things off of my chest, guys, but I'm always taking it to the last minute. It was in school, it was the same. You know, you have to learn for your Abitur. People are starting to learn 3 months earlier. Like me was like 2 days before.
But
So
that
this is me.
Yeah.
And I never could. I mean, I felt like maybe because I was in an employment era, you know, there I had actually, you know, I had my 9 to 5 or whatever, or 10 to 6, and I had to deliver. You know, I had. So this is a different story. But now, since I'm a freelancer, you know, I'm always happy when I manage. You know, because you know there's also sometimes things you have to do, and you know, oh my God. now I have to
I'd
make
rather
this
clean
call.
clean my apartment.
Absolutely. Or let me call Saskia. Can we go for coffee? So, but I'm also working on that. And the thing is, I think this also comes with age, where everything will be fine. I mean, this is also something that I say. It's like, guys, everything will be fine. It's not, we always make a drama out of everything, but this is what is in our head. To be frank, and this is the trauma we make. But I really learned, just like to take it a little easier and cooler and smoother, and not to overthink. And as I said, just listen to my belly.
I'm learning that. I'm quite the overthinker sometimes, and I just make it more complicated, make it into such a big thing that then it's like, oh, now I can't stop because it's so big now.
Yeah, but this also regarding social media is something that I had to learn during COVID, actually. Because I had, like, briefly before the first lockdown, I remember I had, like, because that was Paris Fashion Week, know.
I know. Saskia and I were together. That's a funny story.
So we had just launched new collection.
Yeah.
I had organized shootings and stuff, everything. The lockdown came, I had to cancel everything. But still, of course, I needed to sell.
Of course.
And I needed to be in touch with my clients, especially Japan.
Yeah.
And so my Japanese clients, they were asking, like, can you do this video? Can you please do this video? Can you tell us this? Can you present this? Can you do that? And in the beginning, it would take me, I don't know, like 4 hours for like a 30-second clip, because I didn't like how I looked. The jewelry wasn't seen. I was maybe not saying the right thing. Then the light was stupid. Always something. And then I learned to become faster and to not think about every little thing all the time. Because you need to have, like, I think you need to keep a certain kind of ease and lightness, because it's not so serious.
Yeah.
People look
We
at
are
it
not. We are
a couple
not
of seconds.
Exactly. We are not
then they
rescuing
forget about
people.
it. It's not. It's not rocket science.
Yeah.
And you're not explaining. I don't know.
Absolutely.
How to build I don't know.
Spaceship.
Yes.
A spaceship, but we want to build our own spaceships.
Of
That's
course.
the point.
Of course.
It resonates with me, or I feel very like you're talking to me, because I am the perfect example for this. Like, I always get told you need to speak more into the camera, and I think I've maybe done one speaking story in my life, because I will pick myself apart. Like, on one side I say, like, I'm much more confident now, but then the moment I'm like that, I'm just like, oh, well, that's fucking ugly, or that's terrible, I guess it's practice and just forget. Like, my feed used to be like I don't know, like a master Arbeit work. I would like, does this work? And now I'm just like, okay, as long as it doesn't look completely out of place, it's fine, and no one really cares.
Nobody
just like,
cares.
You take yourself
Exactly.
way too serious.
I know there was this time
Yeah,
when,
of
like,
course,
the
and
three,
you were totally overloaded. I mean, it came totally
the nine.
unannounced.
Yeah.
It came unannounced. I mean, I think this was also for all of us, it came unannounced, I mean, would you have ever thought that we would be in a lockdown? I mean, come on, babes, and it was crazy, and I can totally imagine, But I think it's actually it was also like, I mean, not that we had to have a pandemic to actually evolve, or to, how shall I say, like to...
become the better
to
version.
the better version of ourselves, exactly. But I think it helped, as I said, to see it from. You always have to see it from the other side, And I also say with it, it's funny. I don't know, like a couple of weeks ago, I did something, and then the photographer who shot me said, "Rose, should I retouch it with the wrinkles?" And I was like, "It's fucking social media, guys." It's not for the website. It's not for a web shop. Don't has to be accurate. This is how it looks like when I'm wearing this suit. Why should I retouch it to make it different? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you get what you see what you get, or you get what you see, whatever, the other way around. And and I think this is the point, we are thinking too much, and what I feel like also, especially with the algorithm, quick and dirty performs or sexiness.
Yeah.
Because sometimes like we used to think like editor, like like magazine.
Absolutely, like magazine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even though I do think, especially wording, writing, I think that's. I like to give it a thought and
Me
to make
too.
it good.
Me too.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and the thing is, it's really funny that you say that, because, somebody was asking me in an interview, Rose, you always have like these quotes on your, under your posts. And I said, it's mostly taken from a song, or it's mostly connected to music. And there's really like, sometimes I feel, I want to tell more about my thought, why I did it, how I felt it. But then I realize how annoyed I am always when people are writing these texts on an Instagram post. And I think, I'm not jumping on this, Although maybe I will one day, because I think it's really nice, to actually fill in your followers sometimes, to get a little bit more personal. I mean, of course, they always would ask you over a direct message if they want to know something, But but I think it's actually nice, to give a little bit of a thought and a more insight about it.
I agree. Would you say, though, that then social media is, of course, a good platform to build your own brand? You say that in lockdown, the videos where you could speak, that helped you build your brand.
Yeah, no, totally.
So generally speaking, what would you say are like the factors that you need? Like for me, of course, I also want to build Breakfast in Bed with Tiffany as a brand. What would you say are the important things to do so that it remains authentic, or any tips for me or for anyone listening?
Kind of creating, I think, creating an image or a vision that has some kind of consistency and some kind of recognizable.
Yeah, recognition is very important.
Character or feature. Yeah.
So you have already the recognition because you always will have the breakfast in bed. You know what I mean?
Yes, I find.
And I mean, you can change the topics whenever you want to, and whatever you want to change it. I think this is not. This is not the point. I'm just thinking about. I'm just like also thinking about. I think consistency is very important. Recognition. Be the best version of yourself. And be true to yourself. And it's always that I say, as soon as I'm working with a client, this is one thing I can adapt. But I'm also not allowing the client to actually put me in a different direction, because then I would rather say no, because I want to have my signature on the brand or on, I have it on my own brand, but you know what I mean? I want to have, and I think it's really, really important, we can use like photographers or designers, they all have their signature, and this is also what I want.
And I remember, like, one of the few things that stuck with me from my design studies was the moment you go out, like the moment you present something to the world, like it has your name on, and you can't take that away. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure when I watch my first episodes, I'll be like, oh God, what was I saying there? But I feel like for me, this is like the authentic way of me also showing the evolution of myself in this podcast, because it definitely doesn't come, I love talking to you guys, and it's much more natural than if I'm just speaking to the camera, then I'm way worse. But it doesn't come natural, but I think it's what will probably make it authentic, that you see, oh God, that was the first try. Hope people don't give up after the first time and actually see how one can grow.
Also, I think it's very sympathetic.
Me too.
If I can see a natural human being performing.
Yeah.
with all their flaws, you know,
Yes.
because we always, as we
Yeah.
said, I think we all have this kind. Maybe it's also a kind of education thing where you think you have to be perfect. Why do you have to be perfect? You know, this is also something.
Yeah.
You know, I think so. Why do I have? And I think this is what people love, and this is also what I learned. You know, to see my flaws, to see myself. You know, not like Rose, who's well dressed, you know, who looks beautiful or whatever, you know, who has a strong personality. We love her because she's always so funny, la 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 la. But I also have my, but I also have, I have my flaws.
fucking amazing.
I mean, people know that I have my flaws. But the thing is also to stand with them. This is what I had to learn, to say, you know what? Yeah, then it is like that. And you know what? I don't have a problem with it. If you have a problem, it's your problem. But it's not my problem.
So I would love to touch also on the topic of friendship between women and hear your stories, what you have to share. I feel like now I've found my special friends, my special girlfriends, but I feel like that's sometimes not as supportive as in not mine, but I feel like friendship generally between women is often not as supportive as maybe men are with each other. What do you guys, or what are your experiences?
Yeah, I would say until my very adult life, I totally avoided
Like friendships
women
with women?
or girls.
Because of bad experiences, or
I don't know, I only had male friends. I thought that was way easier. And I guess I also cultivated that, you know, like how you sometimes do, because something makes you insecure,
Of
you
course.
cultivate the opposite of it. And so it's, I would say like in the last 10 years.
So we met actually 10 years ago because Saskia and I, we were writing last night. I had this amazing idea, you know, that when we, when we introduce ourselves, you know, that I'm telling the story how we met, because it's a really funny story.
It's a really funny
And then
story.
it was so
Please tell
nice
us.
because I was in bed and I don't know what, she was also
I was
somewhere.
on the train.
You were
I
on
was
the
on the
train,
train to
and she was
Berlin.
so relaxed, you know, and I was relaxed. I had my phone on my chest, you know, and it was just like talking, hey Saskia, do you remember? And then
Of course I do.
I mean, okay, shall we tell the story?
yes, please.
So, do you want to tell?
I can start.
You can start.
Yeah, so I was, there was a Louis Vuitton opening, which was a big thing in Munich. And I remember and it's funny because you remembered also what I was wearing. I also remember what you were wearing. So I was wearing a bright pink dress and a bright pink beaded choker. And
From Saskia Diez, of
long reflecting silver earrings.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And
Crazy.
and so I was at this opening, and then at a certain point, I was totally sure, I was convinced there was art. I was convinced there was art somewhere because it was also the Louis Vuitton
Absolutely.
the foundation.
Yes. That there was some installation.
Yes. So
she followed the light.
At a certain point, I thought, so there's people waiting for something. And there was kind of a small hallway, dark woods left and right, people queuing, and I thought, oh wow, so only one at a time can watch it. So I stood in line. I stood in line, and then behind me, you popped up, and I don't know. Somehow we were exchanging some words. I don't remember what that was, but at a certain point I said something that it's a long queuing, like this art, whatever. And there was this lady with the rubber gloves, where I thought like, that's part of
the installation.
And Rose started laughing so hard and said like, we're just queuing for the loo. So yeah, and then later upstairs we met again. We stood at a high table, and Rose was like, she was coming straight from India, and she was wearing
a red dress,
Yeah.
or like a strapless
It was a Marc
dress.
Jacobs,
It was
right?
a Marc Jacobs, and now my
what
story.
I remember.
So it was a long dress from Marc Jacobs, because 14 years ago Marc Jacobs was still the designer of Louis Vuitton, and it's really funny because with this dress I also have another story. This is how I met Uma Thurman. So then, also after this like gathering, like we didn't introduce ourselves. It was just like the little talk that we had at the loo, and then we left, and then we went to the after party. So when I'm entering, and there's this VIP area, and somebody is coming towards me while I'm walking, and I have to say, I told Saskia also, I had so much champagne, and I think, also from that, I had a little jet lag, so everything was anyhow
You
a
were
little
in a
surreal.
very sparkly mood.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was surreal. So then this lady comes and she was like, oh my God, Uma Thurman sitting over there. She wants to know, which dress are you wearing? Which designer? And I was like, Uma? Uma? And I was like, and she was like, so I jumped over the bench to her, and we had a champagne together, and I had to tell her
She
that
was
it was
actually
like,
laying like that.
yeah, or something, I don't know.
And was
Were they
wearing
like-
something blue.
No, it was really funny. So I had her for a moment, like 5 minutes, and then she had to leave. But yes, it was a Marc Jacobs dress. And this is actually when we met for the first time. And then, because this is what I didn't know, but we were also not jumping. I think Saskia gave me a card. I think you had a card, right?
Yeah,
and she
maybe I
gave me
had
the
a card.
card. And then we met for the first time, like for a dinner at Schumann's. And this is actually
Few days later.
when our friendship
Yeah.
started.
But I was very I was nervous and excited, and I was like really carefully thinking of what to wear
At the event.
for the dinner.
For the
Oh, for
dinner
the
with
dinner.
me.
For
Isn't
the
that? I
dinner.
think it's so amazing
dinner.
because I didn't know.
Yeah, and you I know that you told me later that you were like, oh, she has kids. I was still married then.
Because I thought, Saskia, I would have sworn that you're into girls. It was not that I was she was just like an amazing person, I saw her and I was like, oh my God, are you fucking kidding me? Because she was so special, and the way how she looks. And actually, I know we had talked about this beforehand also about, I could say I'm into women and men, but I think with the age also like preferable more into men than into women, but it also depends because as I say you fall in love with the person. So for me there is actually no gender, whatever. But I think it was this time, I had still something going on, and I was more like focused on girls. I would say no, I was even I was in a relationship
totally
with a guy. Oh my God,
And that just
Saskia.
started.
Yeah, it just
Yeah.
started, you're right. But the
just
thing is,
started.
but this is what I said, where I come from when I told you I was so into models when I was young. It's like for me, it's the beauty, and the personality. And she was so extraordinary. And I didn't know her, although I was in Munich already for 20 years.
Yeah, but there was
No, for
it was
15.
also the time when I actually started to open up to the outside world.
Yes.
And it's funny, I'm just thinking also because you're saying like girls, boys, difference, blah blah. Because there's this term bromance. Like, what's the thing if that's
Of this
if
word
what's the female version?
for the bromance.
Yeah.
Sister from another mister.
No, that's true.
Yeah, because I think
It's
that's
the
that was
bros,
the
but maybe it's
was
also-
this crush girl thing.
I think everyone loves your a jawline. Like, I think there are probably a lot of people going to the doctor being like, I'd like this jawline. Saskia Diez's jawline. Like,
Absolutely, absolutely.
so nice.
So edgy.
And yeah, so back to the previous. Yeah, so that it's not like I don't have this long history of female close friends. But I would say the special thing, and I guess that's the same for all, is that there's certain things that people might have empathy for you or empathy for how you're feeling in that situation, but really feeling how that situation does feel for you or your body, or like, that's a special thing, of course, with
Absolutely.
women among each other.
And I think we also became very close. We became very open, because when you just said it, you said maybe 10 years ago. And this is also what I feel with Saskia. You know, Saskia was actually like one of my best friends at the time when she opened up. And as I think it's also, I'm an open person, you know, I think it was also not difficult for you, you know, because whatever. And we spent so many fashion weeks together. And I just told her yesterday, you know, and so I'm more this person who takes care of other people. And I said to Saskia yesterday, you know, when we had this little chat over voice messages, that I really adored and I really felt so comfortable, because she was always watching out for me, you know, like she was actually the one initiating always, like, Rose, we are going to meet, let's have a dinner, let's meet for lunch. It's not that we spend so much time in Munich, but the most of the time and the very close time we spent was always in Paris. And this is what I really, really loved. I was like, I have never met a person, you know, because, you know, Fashion Week is always, everyone is busy. Oh, no, I didn't make it. Saskia was always the one. I mean, sometimes we had a room together. We shared a room. I could crush on her bed, whatever, or we had it together, whatever. It depended. And then, and I never had somebody really interesting, as she said, she's more into male, and she has this male friendship and women, where I really felt like she, you know, somebody was taking care of me, and she was also like so dedicated, you know, Rose, I have this appointment with this client, but then we can have lunch at Wild in the Moon, at our famous pharmacy, lol. You know what I mean? So, and this is also what I really, really appreciated. And we also talked about the pandemic. I think this is also a little story that we should tell, because Saskia and I, we were, of course, the victims, you know, of the COVID, you know, because we were in Paris. We had a room together. I got sick.
Yeah, no, but the first, I remember, so I arrived in Paris, okay? You were there already.
Yes,
you
you're
came
right.
from Milan.
I came from Milan,
Yeah,
yes.
and then it was the birthday dinner of fruit.
Of Anna.
Yeah,
Anna
it was the
Krank,
birthday of Anna.
a friend of ours.
It was the birthday of Anna. You came from Milan. I arrived in that evening, and I think already in that night it started that we felt sick.
She was, I was leaving earlier than she, because, you know, when she was there with her friend, she was always staying longer. I was leaving earlier, and I know she was the whole night. I mean, she saw me. I was on the bed. I was freezing, you know.
Freezing,
she was boiling me tea. She was giving me propolis, etc. I was so sick, and I didn't know what I had, you know.
Yeah.
It was not that you know what, I didn't even come from Milan. I came from Munich. Milan was locked down, but anyhow. And I remember I had an appointment with a brand, and he let me wait for such a long time, and I was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm fainting. You know, it was something like that. I felt I can have like a flu, but although, you know, like I was freezing from the inside and blah, blah, blah. And then I left with the train and went home, and I got really sick. So I was out of the office for 2 weeks, especially because then the lockdown came, and then, you know, people were afraid and said, Rose, you have to be if we don't know whether you had COVID, but, you know, there was not still the tests. So I went to my doctor, and he was checking my blood, and he said, you don't have COVID. So I was even thinking, okay, so I don't have COVID. But then it started that I lost my smell, and I lost my taste, and I was like, what's going on in here? You're totally like out of somewhere. And then we found out, because we still didn't know, so she was sick, I was sick, we didn't know that we had COVID because we never did a test. But then it came out after 3 months. We met 3 months later.
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 Yeah, later. Because I remember, like, I got back to Munich, and I had to suppress it. I mean, I had to, I had I had the company that was locked down, so everything was on me. I had the kids with the homeschooling and blah blah blah, and
She
I
was
had to do
sick.
groceries and
Yeah.
so and I could suppress it, but I felt something isn't right. But I remember I went to the, because there was this station at this one clinic, and they said, so where do you come from? I said, I was in Paris Fashion Week. Yeah, but you didn't come from Milan, so we won't test you. And and then I know that
Strange.
only like late summer or something, I had my blood tested, and then I saw, okay, I had
Antibodies. And then she told me, and then I took a test and I had antibodies too, so we knew that we were both COVID infected.
Yeah.
But that's how you got even closer.
No,
With
it's really
sickness and
funny.
health.
Of course, I mean, we're always close. No, it was actually the time. I mean, she had to take care of Lot. It was actually that we drifted a little bit apart. But I think it was not intentionally from no one. I think it was just like a new circumstance. I would say like a new situation, where everyone was also like in his own bubble, like...
and like everyone had to kind of like take their, put themselves together, keep themselves together. I had these, like, as I said, 3 kids with homeschooling. I had the company, like no one could be there. I had the very strong, I remember I had the very strong feeling of realizing how many people depended on me in very different roles.
Of course.
Like as a leader, as a mother, as a, how do you say, provider of work, because like all the workshops, all the people that work for me, like everyone was afraid, like, how will it be now? Are you still providing us with work? Like, so, and then of course my team, and I had this strong feeling of responsibility.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. Like, Corona was, I think, wild for us all.
Yeah.
And to go back to women friendships, what is it for you that you say, these are the qualities I look for? Like, for me, I also have a lot of guy friends. I think it's sometimes for me easier to get along with them. They're more simple. Like, I don't care if my hair gets wet or if we jump into a puddle, or like, I think I've always been a tomboy. And remember my mom used to always, I'd come back from school dressed like in baggy pants, and then she'd look at me and she'd be like, one day you're going to look at the pictures and be like, what were you wearing? And then, and also like, or I'd come back with completely bruised legs because I'd be playing football all day. And she's like, I had a girl, like, why are you such a boy? And she was so right. Like, I look back at the photos now and I'm like, oh my God, what was I wearing? But so since small, like, I've always found it much easier to get along with guys because I was never this like, pretty girl, and that's true. And I think being so insecure before, I probably didn't get faced with my insecurities. So now, for me, I think what I value most in friendships with women is when it's not that competition idea. That's for me, I think, the killer. If I realize,
Totally
for
agree.
me, I wish you like all the best. Like, and if someone has like a great set of boobs, a great ass, I'll be walking on the street I'll be like, oh my God, look at her ass, or look at her there. And I'll also do it to my ex-boyfriends or there, and I'll be like, oh my God, because I think like other women might be like, oh yeah, no, or don't look, or say something bad. It's not going to make my boobs any better or my ass any better by putting it down. And I think, why not appreciate it? And I love giving compliments because I just think such a nice thing to hear. I mean, of course, ones that are meant true, but for me, I know I had to learn that, I think, though, like, because sometimes even if you want to not feel competition, sometimes you feel that feeling in your gut and you realize, oh, why do I feel like that? And then that was also like something where I had to be like, oh, I think that's, it's your own insecurity getting the best of you, but it doesn't change anything. It doesn't make you better by now feeling insecure. So for me, that's my most valued, or my how do you say, when a woman is like can fire your dreams, like also like go for your goals, like praise you and not feel insecure themselves. That's what I personally look for in a friendship with a woman. Now I've had my monologue. What's yours?
I think that I'm not necessarily looking for something in a friendship. For me, it's always like, it's the energy, it's the match, it's the catch, it's whatever, like you meet someone, and I think that you already feel it, whether you get along or not. You know what I mean? This is more how I actually go into friendships or how I meet friends or whatever. We were just talking about Anna. She's from Russia, actually, and she approached me over Instagram. 3 months later, she flew to Munich just to come to know me, to meet me, And this is actually how she also met Saskia, because that we are very close, etc. So this is actually how I get in my environment. But I also want to say, so I was not a person who was only with boys. I think for me, there was nothing referred to. It was not that I was more with girls or with boys. I think it was a good mix that I had always. But what I learned, especially with women, to be frank, now, that there's, of course, I met a lot of women, that at some point maybe might not be in a friendship anymore, because I just felt like, oh yeah, she was feeding things from the past that were triggers, and I think we will not manage, although I always try to manage. I'm really I try to keep friendships like for a very long time. But, once you have to say enough is enough, when you feel like it's a one-way street and you always feel like somebody is sucking your energy, somebody is not listening to you. This is anyhow also a problem in the world, that people, they do not listen anymore, It's more important for them is just like to give you a piece of advice, which I didn't ask. Just FYI, you know what I mean? It's this kind of, where people try to be übergriffig. I don't know the word in English.
Like overstep.
Yes, and that I also felt like over the years that I have, that I tend to also, like be a little bit, not in a narcissistic environment, but I think that I'm like, I don't want to call myself a victim, but I think that I tend to react on narcissists.
Okay.
There's something that they can do with me, and this is something from the past, Your mother actually like beating you up, or your dad beating you up, and then in the next morning, you are sitting on their lap and just like, oh, my prettiest daughter ever. But the next day you are ugly again. You know what I mean? I think it's this kind of things. And I would say it will actually, I think it will join me my whole life, but it's getting better, because I remember that I was not even aware, and now I really feel it from the beginning when I meet people, So what is the point, if there's already like a misunderstanding in a couple of months, or when there is already like a trauma, I'm actually stepping back, know. When 10 years ago I would have said, you know what, I'm the big mother, I have to actually deal with it and I will fix it. But I know I cannot fix it because it's also a part of my issues. And I have to first fix my issues, and then I will see whether I will fix the others, but I don't think so, because this is also what I feel as the best version of myself. I became really like a not more selfish, but more concentrated on my behalf, on things that I want to provide, I mean, I always love to provide any kind of experience I have, but I would be not a person who would say, Tiffany or Saskia, you have to, and there's also these friendships, when when, for instance, there's like a trauma with a boy or with a girl, you know, and I have to take sides. I would never take sides because I always try to see both sides and say, you know what, guys, you have to figure it out, you know, and it's not like a one-way street, and it's not about you. I understand that you want that he understands you, or that they understand you, just to being correct,
Yeah.
that they understand you. But it's also like that you need to understand the person, because other than that, you will never solve the problem.
Yeah. And I think it's also how reflected you are, or how much you've worked on yourself, that you can actually be better for the other person.
Because you are more relaxed, Tiffany. I also feel, you know, there's things, they are not bothering me anymore. Because I just had chewed them like for 100 times, you know. It's just like, you know what? I just want to spit this fucking chewing gum now and push it in the dustbin, you know. It's got so. But as I said, it's always. I mean, I had a lot of discussions and conversations about this, you know, where I don't even have an answer, you know. And sometimes I remember when I was in my. It's not that I would say that I was depressive, but I'm a crying girl. So, and I know there was a time I was crying a lot, you know, like everything came in emotions. But I also realized that this is this is the path I need to go, you know, because it cleans me, you know, it gets out. I mean, there's people in the world, they cannot even cry. I feel so sorry for them, you know, because I can. But of course, at some points you have to balance, and you have to ask yourself, why you're always crying, you know. And then I realized it's really like the triggers I get for in this phase. There was an environment that I had on people, you know. They actually feeded me. They feeded me, you know, and I, And then I got back in my bubble where I thought, okay, I needed to be feeded, which I don't, you know.
Yeah.
And then I got somehow spinning in the wheel.
Yeah, I would like to add something, or maybe it's also totally has to do something with what you were saying. So I think one key element for true connection, friendship, relationship, whatever, is taking that person how that person is.
Yes.
Like if you love a person, there's no need to.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like, of course, something maybe kick ass.
Yeah, this is another thing.
But not like not trying to change. And so if you have someone in front of you where you have the feeling like you're welcome as you are. Not that I don't think. Going back to this becoming in your best version, everybody wants to be as good as they are.
Yeah.
Or as they can be. But I think that's an important aspect.
I agree, and I think that, like, for me, or to also round this podcast up, I think you should be as unapologetically yourself, so that other people also feel like welcome to be their own natural self. Like, if you don't try and be different to suit, I feel like that comes across natural and authentic, and that makes it easier for other people to be themselves around you too. Is there anything you guys would like to add to it, like as a tip for anyone trying to become their best selves?
No, and especially this is also something, this is what I forgot actually to mention before, according to our friendship, this is also what Saskia always gave me, that I can be me, and I think it was also the other way around, and that's why it's easy. You know, but you also have to understand at that point, you know, that this is actually how friendship should be. You know, which doesn't mean, you know, and also, as I said, if I want to be a piece of advice, I would ask her, you know, and then she would give me, but she would never say, hey, Rose, you know what, you have to drink less or whatever. You know, I mean, because people are like that, you know, it's just like I didn't, and this is my favorite standard answer, I didn't ask you.
Perfect.
If I ask you, you know, it's like with a dog. Can I caress your dog, or how you say, you know, can I touch your dog? You have to ask the guy.
Yeah.
who's the owner of the dog, you know? And this is also how we actually, this is something I wish we should do.
Can I touch your baby?
Baby. Can I touch your baby? Can I touch your belly? No, exactly. You know, people going like, oh, nice. It's just like, seriously, you know, I mean, you're actually overstepping boundaries. And what could what was the question again? What you said?
Is there any
recommendation or
other,
piece of advice that I could give to people?
If you're trying to become the
I can tell you, be tolerant and be patient, because it could take you a long time to become the best version of yourself, and also to realize this is the best version of myself. Because the thing is, you know, you can never decide things on your own. You have always an environment around you. It's the job, it's the social media, it's whatever, you know. But what I have learned is like, believe in you, you know, never allow people to put you down, you know. Be open, trust people. I think this is also something very, very important, you know, to be open and to trust people, and not because you had a bad experience. Experiences and bad experience and things, they belong to life. This is what I say. You know, we cannot avoid it, and I think it's very important to also have bad experience, because then you learn out of the bad experiences, you know. And this is what I can say. So just, you know, like, embrace yourself every day, you know, look in the mirror and tell yourself, this is something one of my colleagues always said, you look in the mirror and you say, I love myself. And I think this is something very important.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you guys generally for our talk, and hope you still can have a few bites of your breakfast.
We will.
But thanks for coming, and thank you for being my guest.
Thanks for having us. Thank you, Tiffany.
No matter where you're from, all around the world, it's one unique, one special vibe.